You lost everything. Your plans collapsed. Life didn't ask, it just took. What do you do now? Break down or break through? In 300 BC, a man named Zeno stood in that exact moment. His ship was gone, his fortune gone, his identity shattered. But instead of despair, he chose philosophy. He chose to respond, not react. And from that moment, Stoicism was born. Part 1. The shipwreck that changed everything. In the bustling port city of Cyprus, around 300 BC, there lived a man named Zeno, a wealthy trader whose life revolved around cargo, commerce, and the steady rhythm of sea voyages. But fate, as it often does, had its own plans. On a routine voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus, disaster struck. His ship, carrying not just goods, but the fortune he'd spent a lifetime building, sank beneath the waves. In a single moment, everything he owned was gone. No warning, no way to prepare. And in that silence, after the storm, Zeno stood on the shore, not as a merchant, but as a man stripped bare by life. But what seemed like the end was only the beginning. Because that very loss, the moment most people would curse, fear, or mourn, became the spark that set him on the path to something greater than wealth, something no shipwreck could ever destroy. He discovered Stoicism. And from that broken beginning, Zeno became not just a student of wisdom, but the founder of an entire philosophy that would outlive empires. Part 2. The Stoic response to loss. Imagine standing in Zeno's sandals. Everything you've built, everything you've planned, gone not because of some personal failure, but because nature decided to remind you who's really in control. Would you rage at the sky, curse the sea, collapse into despair? Most of us would. It's natural to feel cheated when life throws devastation your way. To feel that the world owes you an explanation when everything you've worked for vanishes overnight. But Zeno chose a different response. He did not resist what had already happened. He did not waste time demanding fairness from a universe that never promised it. He accepted, not with weakness, but with clarity. That moment of loss became the moment he truly woke up. It didn't destroy him. It stripped away the illusion of control and revealed something deeper, the power to master his response. Zeno didn't cry over a sunken ship. He built a new life on the solid ground of wisdom, self-control, and inner peace. And that's what makes him not just a survivor, but a founder, the father of Stoicism. Part 3. The spark of Stoicism. One shift. That's all it takes. A single mental pivot, small in the moment, can echo across decades. One adjustment in how you frame the world, how you interpret setbacks, loss, and discomfort can reshape the entire course of your life. That's the power Zeno discovered. And it wasn't just theory. It became his new reality. After losing everything, he didn't crumble. He didn't curse the sea or fate. Instead, he turned inward. He studied. He questioned. He reflected. And from that quiet storm, Stoicism was born not as a philosophy for comfort, but as a compass for hardship. At its core, Stoicism teaches acceptance, not passive surrender, but the strength to face reality without illusion. It's about indifference to what you cannot control, not out of apathy, but out of wisdom. Zeno studied the teachings of Socrates, of the Cynics, of thinkers who taught that virtue, not wealth or pleasure, is the only true good. He saw their ideas not as academic, but as tools for survival. From those tools, he forged something new, a way of life, a discipline of the mind, a path that would guide emperors, generals, slaves, and ordinary people through the harshest storms. And it all began with one shipwreck and one decision not to break. Part 4. control what truly matters. Zeno taught a powerful truth that still echoes through the centuries. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. Life will throw storms your way. The waves might wreck your plans, your possessions, even your sense of direction. But how you receive those waves, that is where your real power lies. When Zeno lost everything at sea, he didn't fall apart. He didn't spiral into despair or wallow in blame. Instead, he mastered the one thing still in his control: his mind. He chose not to be shaken. He chose composure. He chose calm over chaos. That choice, that mindset, is the foundation of Stoicism. Many today look at Stoics and imagine stone-faced men, detached and emotionless. But that image misses the point. True Stoicism isn't about being numb, it's about being anchored. It's not that Stoics don't feel rage, fear, or sadness. It's that they don't let those emotions control their actions. Stoicism is about choosing reason over reaction, clarity over chaos. It's not about becoming unbreakable, it's about learning how to bend without snapping. That's what Zeno embodied. That's the path he lit for us. Part 5. Stoicism as a way of life. Stoicism was never just a personality trait, it was a full lens through which to see the world. Far beyond the label of emotionless, it was, and still is, a deeply practical way of living, a structured response to life's chaos, crafted not in temples or ivory towers, but in the middle of the marketplace. Zeno and the Stoics didn't hide their wisdom, they shared it openly, shaping a philosophy designed for everyday people facing everyday problems. This ancient philosophy is timeless, because the human experience hasn't changed as much as we think. We still deal with loss, fear, change, and failure. And in the face of those struggles, Stoicism offers a path to clarity. It teaches us to process our emotions, not suppress them, but to turn them into fuel for understanding and growth. Perspective is everything. Two people can experience the same setback, yet walk away with entirely different interpretations. What Stoicism gives us is the power to reframe so that hardship becomes training, loss becomes awakening, and frustration becomes an invitation to grow. That's why Stoicism is still relevant today. Not because it promises an easy life, but because it prepares you to face life with eyes wide open and a mind that doesn't crumble under pressure. Part 6. Stoicism for all. From slaves to emperors. The brilliance of Stoicism wasn't just in its principle, it was in its radical accessibility. Unlike philosophies reserved for the elite or confined within academic walls, Stoicism was made to live in the public square. Zeno and his followers believed wisdom wasn't a luxury, for the privileged it was a necessity for everyone, regardless of class, status, or background. That's why some of history's greatest Stoics came from vastly different walks of life. Epictetus, born a slave, became one of the most respected teachers of his time. Seneca, a statesman surrounded by the intrigues of Roman politics, practiced stoic calm in the midst of chaos. And Marcus Aurelius, emperor of one of the greatest empires in history, ruled with a stoic heart, proving that even the most powerful man on earth needed a guide for his soul. These men didn't just speak about virtue, they lived it. The Stoics actively rejected segregation, status divides, and exclusion. They coined the term cosmopolitan, a citizen of the world not as a fashion statement, but as a deep declaration of human unity. Whether in a dusty Roman street or the throne room of an empire, Stoic wisdom was meant to uplift anyone willing to embrace it. And their inclusiveness didn't stop there. While most of the ancient world denied women access to philosophy, Stoics like Musonius Rufus boldly disagreed. He argued that the pursuit of virtue belonged to all humans, not just men. Women too were encouraged to question, reflect, and practice philosophy. In a time of rigid hierarchies, Stoicism became a quiet revolution that invited every soul, rich or poor, male or female, to rise with reason, virtue, and inner strength. Part 7. Why Stoicism still resonates today. So, why do so many people today embrace Stoicism not as a trend, but as a way of life? The answer is simple. Life is unpredictable. And when unpredictability strikes, it's not the event itself that breaks us. It's our reaction to it. We often mistake our emotions as direct responses to circumstances. But more often, what actually hurts us is not the event, it's the surprise of the event. We're not devastated because it rains. We're devastated because we didn't expect the storm. Rain, in itself, is not bad. It nourishes the earth, sustains life, keeps balance in the ecosystem. But when you're caught off guard, no umbrella, no warning, soaked and shivering, then suddenly, it feels like the sky has turned against you. The Stoic mindset teaches us that pain comes not from what happens, but from what we expect to happen. When we prepare ourselves for life's storms, we no longer curse the weather, we adapt to it. Like carrying that metaphorical umbrella every day, Stoicism trains us to expect difficulty and face it with grace instead of grief. That's why, in a world full of twists, betrayals, setbacks, and disappointments, Stoicism is more than just ancient wisdom, it's a survival skill for the modern soul. Part 8. Reclaiming happiness from external illusions. In a world where advertisements constantly scream at us to chase the next best thing, it's easy to believe a dangerous lie, that if you don't look a certain way, earn a certain amount, or own a certain lifestyle, you'll never be happy. But the Stoics saw through this illusion centuries ago. From childhood, we're shaped by schools, families, and society, each imprinting their own version of what life should look like. But when we absorb everything without question, we risk building a life on expectations that were never truly ours. And when reality doesn't match those expectations, the result is disappointment, disconnection, and quiet despair. The Stoic path offers a radical shift. Improve yourself for yourself, not for applause, not for status, but because it aligns with your values. When you act with pure intention, free from outside rewards, you take back control of your own fulfillment. But too often we try to patch emotional emptiness with material distractions. We buy expensive cars to feel accomplished. We chase status symbols or even relationships not out of love or clarity, but out of fear that we're falling behind. The danger? These external things can vanish in an instant. A storm can destroy your house. A market crash can erase your savings. And even the most passionate love can end. Stoicism teaches, if your happiness depends on something you can lose, then your peace is built on sand. Instead, root your joy in what no one can take: your actions, your discipline, your perspective. That's where real, unshakable fulfillment lives. Part 9. The dichotomy of control. Even the so-called free things in life come at a cost, the cost of space. Not just the physical kind, but mental space too. In a world cluttered with distractions, expectations, and endless desires, the Stoics remind us to clear the noise. As Seneca wisely said, learning to live with less will create space in your life for the things that truly matter. This isn't just about minimalism. It's about shifting your happiness away from possessions and placing it firmly on your intrinsic worth as a human being. Because no car, no house, no title can define your peace unless you let it. What defines it instead? Your mindset, your values, your response to life's chaos. We can't control most things: the weather, the economy, the words of others. But we can control how we respond, and that single choice, that power to respond wisely, is where freedom begins. This is the core of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus said it best: "The chief task in life is this, to identify and separate matters, so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." When you learn this distinction, you free your mind from unnecessary suffering. You stop fighting battles that were never yours to begin with. You begin to live not as a victim of circumstance, but as the master of your own reactions. That's where true power lives. Part 10. Effort over outcome. We often define our worth by things we can't fully control: our income, status, followers, or recognition. But the Stoics challenge us to flip that script. They teach that our value should come not from results, but from the effort and intention we bring to the things we can control. Sure, it's good to have goals. It's powerful to pursue excellence. But if your peace of mind shatters every time life doesn't go your way, then your happiness was never truly yours to begin with. Take something as modern as making YouTube videos. It's nowhere near as difficult as ruling an empire, but it's still a real grind. You spend hours forming your idea, researching, scripting, recording, editing, designing thumbnails, crafting titles, everything. You control every step until you hit upload. Then it's in the hands of the algorithm. Yet people constantly tie their self-worth to likes, views, and followers' external metrics they can't dictate. But the Stoics remind us, judge your success by your effort, not your outcome. Let your fulfillment come from knowing you gave it your all, not from whether it went viral. You own your input. The rest is noise. Part 11. Trust the process. Stoicism teaches us to decouple our self-worth from outcomes and root it instead in effort and perspective. Take, for example, someone who's worked relentlessly for 6 months, pouring everything into his job. He builds his case, walks into his boss's office expecting a promotion, only to hear a polite, "Not now." Immediately, disappointment hits. He questions his value. Am I not good enough? But what if the decision had nothing to do with him? Maybe the boss had a bad morning. Maybe budgets were tight. Or maybe someone else was simply better aligned with the current role. The Stoic response? Focus only on what's yours to control your input, your consistency, your mindset. If he judged his value based on the strength of his work rather than the outcome, he could walk away proud and undisturbed. A no is not a failure. It's just a delay. When you trust the process, you realize that every effort moves you forward even when the results are not immediate. Shift your mindset, and the game changes. Part 12. The 4 Virtues of Stoicism. A true Stoic doesn't measure success by wealth or social validation. He finds comfort in simplicity and strength in restraint. Living well doesn't require luxury, it requires clarity. At the core of Stoicism are 4 timeless virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom is knowing what lies within your control and what does not. It's the discipline of mastering your inner world and letting go of what you cannot command. As Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That space is where Stoic wisdom lives. Courage is summed up in 2 simple words: persist and resist. It's the strength to face adversity and the discipline to hold the line when it would be easier to fall. Temperance means balance, knowing when enough is enough. It's choosing restraint when excess calls your name. Like what we just did. Saying more with fewer words. Each virtue is a pillar. Together, they support a life that is not just moral but unshakable. Part 13. Justice and the Measure of True Wealth. While billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk battle for the top of the Forbes list, a Stoic sees wealth differently. To them, true wealth is having what is essential, then stopping there. It's not about accumulating endlessly, but knowing when you have enough. Among the 4 Stoic virtues, justice is considered the highest. Why? Because it reminds us that we were not born only for ourselves, but for one another. No one should do harm to another. We are here to act in service of the common good. Look at Nelson Mandela, one of the most remarkable leaders in modern history. After 27 years in prison under the brutal system of apartheid, he walked free. Many expected revenge. But Mandela, who read Marcus Aurelius while in prison, chose forgiveness over vengeance. Instead of punishing his oppressors, he led his people with compassion and vision. That is Stoic justicino, only moral, but revolutionary. Part 14. Move forward with reason and purpose. When Nelson Mandela walked free, he didn't seek revenge. He asked his people to relax, rebuild, and most of all, let go of what could no longer be controlled. That choice to focus on the future, not the pain of the past, is exactly what it means to live as a Stoic. And this Stoic mindset isn't just ancient wisdom, it's woven into modern psychology. Rational emotive behavioral therapy, REBT, helps people confront harmful thought patterns by challenging them with logic. When those thoughts don't hold up under scrutiny, they can be replaced with healthier, more constructive beliefs. Similarly, logotherapy, pioneered by Viktor Frankl, is grounded in the Stoic belief that human beings are driven by meaning. When we align ourselves with purpose, even in suffering, we find strength. The Stoics understood what psychology would later confirm. You can't control the storm, but you can train your mind to weather it. Part 15. Redefining value. Rewiring the mind. Even in the darkest moments, there is one thing no one can take from us: the ability to find meaning. That is the heart of logotherapy and the soul of Stoicism. Purpose isn't handed to you. You shape it. But yes, it's easier said than done. Rewiring the mind takes practice. Letting go of old thought patterns, fixed expectations, and unhealthy definitions of success, this is inner work. And the key to that work? Self-worth. When we begin to value what we can truly control, our actions, our attitude, our effort, we naturally stop obsessing over things that lie outside our hands. No more chasing illusions of perfection. No more tying our happiness to outcomes we can't guarantee. This is the Stoic path. Not just enduring life, but navigating through its storms with clarity, strength, and peace. Part 16. The peace beyond control. And if our ship sinks and we all drown, we can still take comfort in one simple truth: we lived well. Maybe not as long as we wanted, maybe not with everything we dreamed of, but with integrity, with courage, with clarity. Because the Stoic accepts the final act, not with fear, but with grace. The end is not the enemy. It's a reminder. A reminder that every moment matters, because everything, every breath, every sunset, every goodbye has an end. And that is exactly why we must live on purpose. If we drown with peace. But while we live, let us live with purpose. If this message resonates with you, don't just listen. Live it, practice it, share it. And if you want to walk the Stoic path with us, subscribe to Live Stoic now. Let's grow together. Stoic, strong, unshakable.